Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavid Vishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We'll together chant chapter 4 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, verses 21 to 30.
Nirashivyatatma tyakta sarva parigraha shariram kevalam karma kurvannapnoti kilvisham yadrichalabhasantushtaha dvandvatito vimatsaraha samasiddhavasiddhau cha kritvapi na nipadyate gata sankasya muktasya jnanavastita chetasaha yajnayacharata karma samagram praviliyate brahmarpanam brahmahavihi brahmanau brahmanahutam brahmaiva tena gantavyam brahma karma samadhina devameva pare yajnam yogina paryupasate brahmajnava pare yajnam yajnenaivo vajupati Shrodradinindriyanyanye samyamadhishu jupati Shabdadindrishayananye indriyadhishu jupati sarvanindriyakarmani pranakarmani chapare Atma samyama yogagnau jupati jnana dipite dravya yajna sapo yajnaha yoga yajna statha pare swadhyaya jnana yajnascha yataya samshita vrataha apane jupati pranam prane panam tata pare pranapanagati rudva pranayama parayanaha apariniyataharaha pranam praneshu jupati sarvepyete yajnavidaha yajnakshapita kalmashaha.
We have so far seen till verse number 23 of chapter 4, entitled as Gnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, the yoga of renunciation of action in wisdom. So this chapter has 42 shlokas, and Swamiji through his research has divided this chapter into 6 topics. So we have seen 2 topics fully, and the third topic we still have one more shloka to go. The first topic was from verse number 1 to 10. Verse number 1 to 10, the topic is Self is the eternal teacher. Verse number 11 to 20, the topic is 11 to 18, the topic is how self relates to action. And then 19 to 24, the third topic is actions of an enlightened not binding. Now, what is said so far, let's see a small summary before we get on to sloka number 24. And I also said verse number 18 that was covered yesterday is the most important shloka of this chapter and also the entire Bhagavad Gita. Most important, there are few. Out of that, shloka number 18 of this chapter is very, very important. Now, in the beginning, what Sri Krishna said is, this knowledge can only be communicated by a person who has unfolded the self. To the extent you have unfolded the self, to that extent you can communicate the self. Every human being is made up of a physical body, mind, intellect, enlivened by Atma, the pure consciousness, the self. You understand? So all of us are nothing but a combination of self or Atma plus the body, mind, intellect. We are this: self, body, mind, intellect. Self is the spiritual component, body, mind and intellect is the material component. We who are ignorant, we identify with the material component, the body, mind, intellect, and think ourselves to be limited. Whereas those who are enlightened about their true nature, those who have realized the self, called Mahatmas or Muktas, they identify with Atma 24/7, 365 days. You understand? Their focus is constantly on Atma. They identify themselves as Atma only. They don't identify themselves as this body, mind, intellect. You understand? So, the Mahatmas, when they speak and they say I, with that word I, what are they referring to? They are referring to Atma, which is the same in me, same in you, and same in all of us. You understand? The body, mind, intellect changes, differs from person to person. Therefore, their actions, characters, everything changes. But the pure consciousness or the self or Atma remains the same. So, enlightened person in the past communicated this knowledge to Vivaswan. Vivaswan gave it to his son Manu. Manu gave it to Ikshvaku. And thus this knowledge was passed on from one generation to another. But due to long lapse of time where the leaders, the head of the family, the head of the institutions, not following this dharma, they lost this knowledge. They lost this parampara. That very same knowledge today I taught it to you. Meaning Atma through some other personality in the form of Sri Krishna taught it to Arjuna. This Arjuna did not understand. Therefore he asked, how is it possible that you taught to Vivaswan and you are teaching it to me now? Because your date of birth I know, which is much later. Whereas Vivaswan was born before you. How you could have possibly taught? I don't understand. You're trying to communicate something deep. I'm not understanding. Please explain. Then Sri Krishna explains whatever I said till now. You understand? Self is the enlivening principle which enlivens the body, mind, intellect to act, feel, think. Perceive, act, feel, think. Body, mind, intellect per se are made up of the 5 elements. The 5 elements are insentient. You understand? Similarly, the body, mind, intellect per se are insentient. They don't have sentiency of their own. But when they come in contact with Atma, they borrow the sentiency from the Atma. They become sentient. Atma is sentient principle. You understand? Enlivening principle. Enlivening the body, mind, intellect. Then we have this life. Then we become these individuals, jivas, experiencing this world of perception, action, emotion and thought. You understand? So the consciousness being the same in the past, present and future is that which enlivened the beings of the past, is that which enlivens the beings in the present, is that which will enliven the beings of the future. Therefore, the pure consciousness, Atma, the self, knows the past, present and future, while we, the individuals, do not know the past, present and future. Okay? And those who are enlightened, who have realized the self, who have become aware of their true nature, they come down to our level out of compassion and then set right the iniquity as much as possible. You understand? So what he's saying is, the Brahman or the pure consciousness, see, we use the word Atma and Brahman. Atman and Brahman. Now you have to understand, both are same only. We use the word Atman when we talk about the pure consciousness with reference to the individual. The same word Atman becomes Brahman when the pure consciousness is used with reference to the total. Okay. So when we say Brahman, Atman, what is this? They are different? No. With reference to the microcosm, we say Atma. With reference to the macrocosm, we say Brahman. Please understand the difference between Brahman and Brahma. Don't get confused. Brahma is Brahmaji. Like in North India, we put Ji, no? Lakshmi Narayan Ji. You understand? Like that, Brahmaji. You understand? But Brahman ka Ji nahi, because Brahman is not a personality. You understand? Brahma is the name of the creator who has 4 faces, whose 4 faces represents 4 Vedas. In fact, all these devatas that we worship, they all have a meaning. All the rituals have a meaning. All the festivals have a meaning. Everything in India is directed towards realization. Everybody in this universe is only seeking happiness, seeking freedom, which is their original nature. So the ultimate goal of every being is what? Moksha or freedom or self-realization. That only. They do not know they are seeking elsewhere. You understand? In the world. So what they did is, every aspect, whether it is our puja, rituals, whether it is our celebrations, festivals, or whether it is an idol that we worship, everything has a meaning, symbolism behind it. This Swamiji beautifully has brought out in the book, Symbolism of Hindu Gods and Rituals. We sometimes call it as God symbolism. That book is available in the outside counter. You can have a look at it, and if you're interested, you can get it. Because we don't know why we worship. Why do we worship Ganesha? Why does he have elephant face? Why is this one tusk broken? What is the reason we worship Shiva? You understand? Why do we celebrate Dashara? Why do we celebrate Deepavali? You understand? So like that, we don't understand. Simply mechanically we are following. See, please understand, this Gnana Yajna is conducted purely to kindle our awareness. In South India, the tradition is, every day morning as soon as they wake up, now whether they follow or not I don't know, but generally they wake up, they go light the lamp. You understand? Similarly, in the evening, around 6 o'clock, 6:15, you light the lamp in the puja room. You understand? This is symbolic of telling that you have to light the lamp of wisdom within. Simply lighting the lamp and forgetting about everything is not the reason that you have to follow these traditions. You light it and understand that you have to light the lamp within to kindle the awareness. That's the reason we do these events, right? So now, what Sri Krishna is saying there, he is saying a person with, Brahman is the pure consciousness with reference to the total that identifies with the potential within, and the universe has come about. You understand? And in this universe, there are beings without awareness, there are few beings with awareness, realized souls, enlightened souls. Right? The awareness, when you have, you come down. That is called avatara. Avatarati iti avatara. I gave the example. Right? What is that example? Somebody is talking on the phone and walking on the road. There is a small pit or a drainage, that is, the cover of the drainage is removed during rainy season. This person, without seeing, falls into the pit, falls into the drainage. Right? So you say he is fallen. Whereas the other person, seeing that, even though that person is unconnected to him, he will get down to help him. That getting down, coming down is conscious. So that's called avatara. So a soul with awareness fully comes down for our betterment. They have no personal desires whatsoever, and they set right dharma. Whenever dharma declines, meaning adharma takes over and dharma declines, they come and set right dharma. They balance it out. Again it goes, but periodically great masters visit and set this right. And thus he says, they protect the sattvic people to protect dharma, and then they destroy the wicked people, the Rajasic and Tamasic, and establish Dharma. Thus, following this, many people have realized you also follow karma and function. You also get rid of your vasanas, become free from your desires, direct your mind towards the self, and realize the self is this. Now, therefore, in this first topic from verse number 1 to 10, who's teaching? Atma is teaching. Only Atma can teach. Only to the extent you have unfolded the self, you can communicate the self. Therefore, we say self is the eternal teacher. This is the topic 1 to 10. Now, from 11 to 18, he is talking about how self relates to action. So, what he is saying there is, everybody has the self, and the self enlivens the body, mind, intellect. Now, I gave the example of petrol in a car, right? I also gave the example of a knife. There's a knife. You can put the knife to use or you can abuse it. Isn't it? Somebody uses the knife to save a person, like a doctor. Somebody uses the knife or abuses the knife to murder somebody. You understand? Similarly, petrol is used by somebody properly driving the car and then reaching the destination safely, or driving rashly, meeting with an accident. You understand? Now, petrol supports both rash driving as well as safe driving. You understand? Similarly, Atma, the self, supports evolutionary activities, devolutionary activities also. So, very rarely people use it for evolutionary activities. Many people use it for devolutionary. Devolutionary, evolutionary, spiritually means what? In spirituality, when we say evolution, devolution, what does that mean? Huh? No, that is okay. What is going Uthan? What is going Patan? God plus Vasanas equals man, human being. Human being minus Vasanas equals God. Imposition 25 times. All of you have to write and come tomorrow. Backside of the envelope they've given you, no? I will definitely see. Otherwise, I'll make you stand up on the bench. Okay. I think the bench can take our weight. So, no problem. God plus Vasanas equals human beings. Human beings minus Vasanas equals God. So, now tell me, what is evolution? What is devolution?
Getting rid of Vasanas is evolution.
Then complete.
And getting on more Vasanas is devolution.
वो भी बोलो. So, getting rid of Vasanas is evolution. Adding more Vasanas is devolution. And majority, what do? They don't understand how to evolve. So what do? They go on picking up Vasanas. So he says, it is very easy in the world when you apply yourself. Even in the world, you need to do a lot of hard work, sacrifice. And people say smart work. Smart work includes hard work. You understand? This is a lot of people don't understand. Anyway, so you have to do a lot of sacrifice and work hard and achieve success. But it is relatively easily achieved compared to moksha. You understand? Therefore, people go towards success in the world, he says. And each one of us are combination of sattva, rajas, tamas. Accordingly, our nature changes and each one takes to action accordingly. Very few people have high level of sattva and applying themselves for evolutionary purpose. So what he says is, Arjuna, you have to evolve towards the self. Use your faculties for your benefit. Don't abuse it. You understand? Please understand, of all the creatures, human being is the chef d'oeuvre of creatures. Chef d'oeuvre in the sense, top, like the jewel in the crown. You understand? We are the jewel in the crown. Why? Because we have the capacity to realize the self. You understand? No other beings have the capacity to realize the self. They don't even talk about self. They have no idea about God. Now you may say, sir, I have seen in circus elephants doing puja to various devatas, They are trained to do. They don't know what they are doing. They are simply trained and they do. Whereas a human being asks question, how is this whole thing functioning? How is this earth revolving around the sun? You understand? Everything is going on meticulously in this world. Who is controlling it? You see, in Chandigarh, everything is going on fine. Why? Lot of cameras are there. Right? Policemen are there. You understand? So they are watched constantly. So everybody behaves. So you ask, is there something beyond? What it could be? When you ask that, you are thinking of transcendental, beyond terrestrial. You may accept it, you may reject it. When you accept it, you become a believer. When you reject it, you become an atheist. But both the fellow who rejects and the fellow who accepts, both are conceiving of something higher. This no animals do. You understand? So we have the capacity to grow to that height. You understand? So therefore we have to use our faculties and get there. So what Sri Krishna says is, in the past with this knowledge, people evolved, and after evolving, they continued working in this world, continued acting in this world with this knowledge. So Arjuna, you also act in this world with knowledge. So what is Bhagavad Gita teaching you? Bhagavad Gita is teaching you to act in this world. Bhagavad Gita is not going to take you away from action. Lot of people think Bhagavad Gita will take me away from action. When I heard my guru speak, I was 21 years old, and it did something to me. I said, I want to do this full time, whatever happens. I was already working, everything was going on fine. So, but this bug was there in me, I must get on to this. You understand? So then I quit my job and joined this. A lot of people asked, why at this young age you are going to study Gita? Love failure hai kya? Understand? Or you're not able to be successful or what? Something negative has to be there so that you come to spirituality. Dukh mein simran sab kare, sukh mein kare na koi. Sukh mein kaun karta hai? Sukh mein Bhagwan ko dur se hai. You understand? That also very few. You understand? Dukh mein sab Bhagwan ki yaad aata hai. During Corona time, more people started attending our classes, especially because it has started becoming online. You understand? So, in other words, you must act, but act with knowledge. What is happening in the world is, one set of people do not act. Other set of people act, but impulsively. Just following their senses. Just living to acquire and enjoy. Khao, piyo, maja karo. बस इतना ही उनका गोल है. उसके आगे कुछ नहीं सोचेंगे. You understand? उनका सोच विचार बड़ा नहीं. You understand? All that Bhagavad Gita is saying is, थोड़ा बड़ा सोचो. Understand? Think. Gain the knowledge of the higher. Think and then function. Like people in the past did. So after enlightenment, they continued living. In fact, after enlightenment, they continued living and acting in their own field. And they were delivering much better than anybody else, because there was no ego standing in between them and their actions. See, it's like driving your car. When you drive your car, supposing at the signal, when you stop, sometimes you put the car in neutral, and also you, put your handbrake, isn't it? Because there may be slight movement. So what do? You put a handbrake. Now you may forget that you put a handbrake, and you may put the car in gear and start, and the car may also move, but some sound comes, some noise comes. You wonder, where is it coming from suddenly? Then you see, it's because of your handbrakes on. So what do? Nicely you bring down the handbrake, and then you drive the car. Isn't it? What is happening in the world is, one set of people have switched off the engine, ignition. Car is standstill, tamasic, lazy, not acting. Ho jayega. Karenge, you understand? Like that. Other set is driving the car with their handbrakes on. Ego, have to do, kya hoga. You understand? The third is doing the action relaxed with knowledge. So Bhagavad Gita is saying, do the action with knowledge. so that you don't incur sin. You don't incur sin means there is no reaction, there is no pap or punya, there is no virtue or vice that you gather. You will not gather any more vasanas. Right? For that you need to understand about action. So he said, you must understand about action, you must understand about forbidden action, and you must understand about inaction. Three words he used. Now we are getting closer to sloka number 18. You understand? Now it's a very important sloka in the summary. So he said you have to know action, you have to know forbidden action, you have to know inaction. Karma, vikarma, akarma. 3 words in Sanskrit. Okay. What is action? What is forbidden action? What is inaction? Action means nitya karma, naimitika karma. Daily routine obligatory duties and special obligatory duty. This is action. You understand? Now, forbidden action means that which comes in between you and your evolution. They are all forbidden. Anything comes in between you and your evolution is forbidden. You understand? Then third is inaction. Now akarma is the word he uses. Here the word akarma gets a technical meaning. What is that? Atma. Why? Petrol in a car doesn't do anything, but in its presence the car moves. Similarly, Atma doesn't do anything, in its presence everything bristles to activity. The whole world wakes up. You understand? The whole world wakes up in the presence of Atma, Brahman. Therefore, Atma is called as inaction, akarma. समझ गया? Non-doing principle, non-doer. ठीक है? Akarta. Now what he says is, you must see akarma in karma. I am purposely using Sanskrit in between English. Akarma in karma. If I use in English, it gets confused. Inaction, inaction. अरे बाबा, confusion हो जाता है. At least if you see in the book, it's easy. Because inaction इकट्ठा होता है, then space in, space action होता है English में. तो थोड़ा reading में easy हो जाता है, लेकिन बोलने में मुश्किल हो जाता है. Inaction, inaction. And that too if I say fast, you get confused. So therefore I am saying, he says, you must see akarma in karma. Then he says, you must see karma in akarma. Now this is the gist of this chapter. Okay, not only this chapter, the entire Gita. If you understand this and you start following this, your life will be completely different. So what he's saying, one interpretation is, when you see any gadget functioning, you understand that gadget is functioning because of electricity supporting it. So when you see all gadgets, you should be able to see electricity in it. So seeing electricity in gadgets, that is seeing akarma in karma, seeing atma in all actions. When you see everybody acting, you understand atma behind it. That is seeing what? Akarma in karma. Then the next is seeing karma in akarma. What does that mean? When you see electricity, you understand the potential. With electricity, you can light up the whole city. With electricity, you can run a car. With electricity, you can do many, many things. Isn't it? So therefore, you see the potential of innumerable activities in electricity, in Atma. That is called what? Karma in akarma. समझ गया? This is one easy interpretation. Now comes the subtler one, which is interesting. In this interpretation, the word akarma is used in different ways to convey a particular message. There is a pun on the word akarma. Okay. Now, first, what is the first one? Akarma in karma. Now, Adi Shankara gives an example. He says, when you are traveling in the boat, when you are traveling on the boat is moving. And on the shore, there are a lot of trees. See, Adi Shankara is especially from Kerala. So, Kerala, you see a lot of coconut trees. You understand? Coconut trees are moving or unmoving? Unmoving. Standing, right? Boat is moving. But for the traveler, when the boat is moving, it appears as if the coconut trees are moving. So what he's saying is, you must see the unmoving in the moving. Moving to you. They are not actually moving. Similarly, your body, mind, intellect is acting and you are thinking you are moving, but actually the Atma inside is not moving. You are that Atma. So you are unmoving. So you must see the unmoving Atma in the moving body, mind, intellect. समझ गया? So you must understand yourself as non-doer. I gave another example. You board a train from Chandigarh to Delhi, Shatabdi. You understand? And you are sleepy because you are so tired. Right? You get up in Delhi. You say, I moved from Chandigarh to Delhi. You moved or train moved? Train moved. But you think you are moving. So this is the confusion all of us are having. मैं करता हूँ, मैं ये किया है, वो किया है, सुबह से शाम तक मैं सब कुछ करता हूँ. आप आत्मा हो, आत्मा कुछ नहीं करता है. You understand? You are akarta. So you should see akarma in karma. समझ गया? Now second, what is the second one? Seeing karma in akarma. Now Adi Shankara uses the word akarma to mean literally inaction. You understand? Somebody who is not acting at all, sitting down. Right? But you should see a lot of activity in him. How he is explaining that? He says, same boat example. You are on the shore now. From the shore, at a very long distance, you have sighted a boat moving. But for you, from distance it appears the boat is stationary. You understand? So what do you say? Boat unmoving. But actually it is moving. So Adi Shankara is saying, जो आप unmoving कहता है, वो always moving. What are you saying unmoving now? When you are sitting down, like Arjuna sat down in the first chapter, I will not fight. You understand? That's what he said. You can see that in the picture also. This morning, we went to, Kapilji took us to this assembly, Haryana assembly, Punjab assembly and all we saw. There in Haryana assembly, outside they have this picture. You know, Bhagavad Gita ka picture jo hai na, Sri Krishna seated on the chariot and Arjuna also seated there. Sri Krishna running the horse, the chariot and giving Gita Upadesh to Arjuna. So you see Krishna is acting dynamically. Arjuna is sitting doing nothing, inactive. Arjuna inactive hota hai, Krishna active hota hai. But Krishna को पता है, Krishna ज्ञानी है, Krishna को पता है, क्या पता है? मैं अकर्ता हूं. He sees akarma in karma. You understand? Whereas Arjuna is sitting, I will not fight. क्योंकि मैं करता हूं, मैं देखता हूं कैसा चलता है यज्ञ. अगर मैं नहीं करता हूं कैसा का यज्ञ चलता है, देखता हूं. अगर लक्ष्मी नारायण नहीं तो यज्ञ कैसा चले, कोई और आएगा, बेटर लेक्चर होगा. You understand? So in other words, you think that I am everything, but I will not do. So externally I am doing nothing. But internally, pura karma. So what he is saying, therefore, what you see as inaction is actually action. What you see as action is actually inaction. Now come to the first chapter. Arjuna said, if I do this action of fighting against Bhishma, Drona, killing them is a sin. What Shri Krishna is telling is, listen, that is not sin. That is not sin if you kill them. Why? If you fight with this knowledge as akarta, with no personal intention against them, just to establish dharma, then even though you are killing, you are doing no pap. Because you are doing it as akarma in karma. समझ गया? Whereas Arjuna, you were saying, I will not fight, I will not kill them. You understand? I will not fight, I will not kill them. So what is happening? You are telling that I will not fight, I will not kill. Inside you are thinking yourself to be the doer, but you are sitting as non-doer, but actually you are remaining a doer. You will be incurring sin. Because you have kartrutva bhav, doership attitude. You understand? So with this kartrutva bhav, when you function, you will be creating sin, creating vasanas. So therefore he said, you should not act with ignorance, you should act with knowledge about action, inaction, forbidden action. Do you understand? Do this. And this he explains from sloka number 19 to 24. He says, actions of an enlightened person, not binding, whatever lifestyle they may follow. They may be very much in the world, like Sri Krishna was on the battlefield, but it was not binding. You understand? There may be some sannyasis who were sitting quietly in an ashram, teaching few students, or maybe not teaching anybody, just quietly in meditation. But they are also not incurring any vasanas. Why? What is the difference? The seed is roasted in the fire of knowledge. Therefore, when it is sown in the ground, it won't germinate. Similarly, when your actions are roasted in the fire of knowledge, it will not create vasanas. So what happens? An enlightened person has Brahma Drishti. He has Brahma Drishti. We all have Jagat Drishti. We don't have Brahma Drishti. Whereas enlightened person sees everything as Brahman and Brahman alone. That he explains in sloka number 24. We'll chant sloka number 24 together.
Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi Brahmadnau Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva Devadantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina.
This is a very famous shloka. Many people know this because this is chanted before taking a meal. Now what happens is sometimes we do this chanting, you may start feeling hungry because of adat. You understand? Because you chant this shloka before taking meal. What is the significance? I'll come to that later. First, what is he trying to say here? Brahmarpanam Brahma Havihi Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahmai Vatena Gantarvyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. What he is saying is, first of all, during the ancient time, during Arjuna's time, the spiritual ritual called Yajna was very popular. Fire worship was very, very popular. So he is taking that fire worship to convey the message. So a knowledgeable person sees everything in the ritual as nothing but Brahman, he says. Everything in the Yajna as nothing but Brahman. So in the Yajna, what happens? There is fire lit. In the fire, they offer ahuti, grains or clarified butter, ghee, etc. Right? And there's a person who's offering. And what is he offering for? For a certain goal. You understand? Sometimes they want children, sometimes they want name, fame, sometimes they want power, sometimes they want money. For different reasons, yajna is conducted and they offer these mantras to a particular devata who they believe will bless them and give them the result that they are looking for. That's how they can conduct the yajna. So now, a person who has Brahma Drishti, he sees the one who is offering as Brahman, what is offered into is Brahman, what is offered is Brahman. Who is offering? Brahman. What is offered? Brahman. Offered into what? Brahman. Then what for? What result? Brahman. Brahman only is in different forms. No? You understand? See, the dream world. Your dream world, in the dream world you have friends, enemies, flora, fauna, animals, everything in the dream world also. No? When you are dreaming, all these are there. Right? Where has all this come from? Your mind. Your mind. Your mind meaning waker's mind. One waker's mind has become all this. Correct or not? So that's why we sing one of the bhajans. Ekatu Rama, Jai Jai Anekatu Rama, Govinda Rama, Jai Jai Gopala Rama, Madhava Rama, Jai Jai Keshava Rama. All are only one Rama who's become many. You understand? Similarly, that one waker's mind has become the entire dream world. Similarly, that one Brahman has become this entire universe. This knowledge an enlightened person has. Okay, this knowledge a sadhak is also informed. So enlightened person, when he acts with his knowledge spontaneously. A sadhak with this knowledge practices whatever he does with this awareness. You understand? So he says, the act of offering is Brahman. The offering, that is the oblation, ahuti, is Brahman. Offered by whom? Brahman. And offered into what? In the fire of Brahman. By seeing Brahman in action, by seeing Brahman in everything, Brahman verily shall be reached by him. The person who is doing activities in this spirit will reach Brahman. Will not create more Vasanas. He will exhaust Vasanas and become one with Brahman. That's all he's saying. So now why are we chanting this before meals? All of us will have to survive. Even if you are a sannyasi, at least one meal you eat in a day. You understand? And it gives certain taste. You understand? And what happens is, we all try to indulge in it, get lost in the enjoyment. Ek aur de do. Ek aur. You understand? So we get involved. So in other words, instead of eating to live, we live to eat. You understand? So what is spirituality? It is not living to eat. It is eating to live for a purpose, for a goal, something beyond your selfish, self-centered interest, especially for the sake of Brahman. So why is a sadhak consuming food? Sadhak is consuming food for what purpose? To get back to Brahman. So whatever you consume, it is to get back to that self. You understand? So the sadhak's goal is Brahman. Sadhak himself is Brahman. Sadhak is eating food, that is Brahman. And where is he offering to? The fire in the belly. It's called Prana Agnihotri. Technically, when you eat food, it's called Prana Agnihotri. A ritual is going on. Yajna worship is going on. Minimum 3 times a day. Sometimes more. You understand? So Prana Agnihotri is going on. There is fire in the belly, no? Vaishwanara. You understand? So to that Vaishwanara Agni, we are offering the food. So with this bhav when you eat, will your attention be on the taste? थोड़ा नमक ज्यादा हो गया, थोड़ा ये हो गया, वो हो गया, आज क्यों ये कर रहे, आज हम ये खाएंगे, हम बाहर जाएंगे. All this will not come. You understand? So why it's coming? Because you are not having the higher awareness. Without higher awareness, when you do, what happens? You pick up vasana. Remember this. When we do puja, we pluck the flowers from the garden and we keep it on a plate in front of the idol, and we sit down and we start doing the chanting of shlokas. Then we take the flower and offer it to the Lord. How do we pick up the flower? Our fingers point downwards, we pick up the flower. Then we turn it ulta, upside down, and then we offer it to the Lord. Isn't it? We turn it upwards and then turn it down and offer it. Correct? So when our attention is going downwards, we pick up flowers which has fragrance, which represents vasanas. Vasana means fragrance. You understand? So when our attention is downward in the world, we pick up vasanas. When we turn it upwards, the vasanas fall at the feet of the Lord. You understand? So therefore, always, whenever we turn our attention towards the higher, we drop vasanas. When our attention is towards the world, we pick up vasanas. So that is what Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi, Brahmagnau, Brahmanahutam, Brahmaivatena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina means. Okay. So now, Swamiji was studying under Swami Chinmanandaji in his ashram during his sadhana days. Now, in our ashram, where I studied, thankfully, this shloka number 24 of chapter 4 and 14th shloka of chapter 15 we chant. Only these two. Thank God. You understand? Whereas in Swami Chinmananda's mission, I believe, they chant the entire 15th chapter, which is 20 shlokas. And they don't have breakfast, only tea in the morning. And previous day dinner around 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock ho gaya. Very light dinner. So next day, only in small tea with very little milk. You understand? And then straight away lunch at 12 o'clock. And in between they are doing a lot of study, work and everything. So you are really hungry. And you go and sit down and the meal is served in front of you. Fragrance is coming, hunger is there and all that. And you have to chant the entire 15th shloka in the normal pace. Urdhvamo lama dasha kamashwa. You cannot chant like that, fast. You have to go in the proper pace. So it will take 5 to 10 minutes maybe, or maybe more, 20 shlokas. You understand? Aram se. What you are doing? In that awareness, you are following whatever you do. Then what happens? It won't create vasanas. You won't develop vasanas for food. You won't live to eat. You eat to live. Now, having said this, now from verse number 25 to 30, another most important portion of this chapter, he is now talking about various sadhanas, activities getting converted into worship. How to convert every activity into worship. You cannot go and sit down in the temple 24/7, no? It won't be practical unless you are a pujari or something, or working in the temple employed by the government. You understand? Or temple committee. Otherwise, what you will do? You have to work, you have to serve your family, so many things. So what do you do? The awareness you have to maintain 24/7. So therefore, prayer is not a part-time, pastime, hobby. It's a full-time awareness of truth. You understand? So how to convert every activity into worship. From the morning till night, what we are doing? We are receiving the stimuli from the world outside. We react with that stimuli internally, and then we send back responses back into the world. So how to convert the receipts, how to convert the reactions, how to convert the responses into worship, that is spoken in verses 25 to 30. Converting all activities into worship, that he talks about. Let's chant verse number 25.
Devameva pare yajnam yoginah parupasate brahmanava pare yajnam yajnenaivopajuhvati.
Some yogis perform sacrifice to gods. Others perform sacrifice by offering sacrifice itself in the fire of Brahman. Now you forget about these words, I'll explain, don't worry. What is this? Offering sacrifice itself in the fire of Brahman. Sacrifice by offering sacrifice, you get confused. So, I just read the translation. Now first of all, the word yogi. Who is a yogi? Yogi means one who is dedicating all the actions at the body level, mind level, intellect level for the union with the self. Yoga comes from the root yuj, which means to unite back to the origin. Union with the self. So a yogi is one who does all actions for the sake of uniting with the with Brahman. If you act physically wanting to unite with Brahman, it's called karma yoga. You become a karma yogi. If you are offering your emotions to unite with Brahman, you become a bhakti yogi. Bhakta. You understand? Now, if you are offering your knowledge, analysis, information, study, all that for the sake of Brahman, you become Gnana yogi. It's called Gnana yoga. You understand? So, yogi means only interest is to get back to the self. So, what he says is, I already covered this in the last class, if you remember. The goal is to reduce vasanas. Finally, exhaust all vasanas. Right? Now, what will remove vasana? Only knowledge. I explained to you. How are we picking up vasanas? By unintelligent, unconscious, constant thinking we pick up vasanas. Isn't it? So now how do you get rid of vasanas? By conscious, intelligent, constant thinking. You drop the vasanas. You understand? Unintelligently, unconsciously, we are thinking of the lower and picking up vasanas. Now consciously, intelligently, constantly think of the higher. You drop the vasanas. You understand? So therefore, finally what will help you? Knowledge. But the knowledge will not go into you if you are not prepared, if you are not ready. That's why I told you yesterday, if you remember, try to come 5-10 minutes early. Sit down so that you are relaxed, so that knowledge will go in. Otherwise you are coming in a hurry. You sit down, क्या चल रहा है भाई? You know, कौन सा वर्ष में है? इधर उधर आप देखता है 10-15 मिनट चले जाएगा इसमें. कुछ नहीं जाएगा अंदर. You understand? Therefore, You have to be yogyata. You have to be qualified. To become jnana yogyata, you have to do karma yoga and upasana. Karma yoga will make you purified mentally. Chitta shuddhi denge. Upasana will give you chitta ekagrata. All this I explained yesterday. And having prepared thus, then you go to ultimately to knowledge, and through knowledge you realize the self. So therefore, not everybody can directly do actions for the sake of self-realization. First you have to prepare. So they do sacrifices for limited goals. So here the word devata, gods, if you see gods is in plural. When we talk about Brahman, there is only one God. Na? In fact, it is wrong to say there is only one God. What do you have to say? There is only God. You understand? God ke bina koi nahi. You understand? There is only God in different forms, names and forms. So there is only one God. But we say gods, meaning, that's why if you see the word gods is in small g and with yes, plural. Which means what? The limited goals, various goals which lead to finally to self-realization. So for self-development you can say. So for the limited goal, some people sacrifice. They are doing deva yajna. So in yajna, there are two things which are to be noted, very important. What is that? Something offered, something kindled. You offer ghee, fire kindled. So in every yajna, there is something offered, something kindled. You understand? So here, they are offering their activities towards a certain devata for kindling that particular result, limited goal. Therefore, it's called Deva Yajna. The next one is Brahma Yajna. Brahma Yajna means offering for the sake of absolute goal. What is absolute goal? Self-realization. Realizing Brahman. So, to realize Brahman, what do you have to offer? Ego. So, here the word Yajna, which is translated as sacrifice, also has a technical meaning. What? Individual. You understand? The individual offers the individual into the total. You understand? The individual offers the individual to the total. That's what it means when he says, by offering sacrifice itself, perform sacrifice by offering sacrifice itself in the fire of Brahman. Meaning what? How do you offer the ego, the individuality? How? With the knowledge. जो मैं सोच रहा हूं individual, वो actually Brahman. With this knowledge, what do you do? Ego को अपने आप त्याग करता है. You understand? So, ego is offered by the individual into the fire of Brahman with knowledge. This is called yajna of absolute goal. So, the first two yajna, totally it talks about 12 yajnas. You understand? The first two yajna, first one is yajna of limited goal or limited goals. Second one is yajna of absolute goal called as Deva Yajna and Brahma Yajna. Next shloka.
श्रोत्रादीनीन्द्रियाण्यन्ये संयमाग्निषु जुह्वति शब्दादीन् विषयानन्ये इन्द्रियाग्निषु जुह्वति.
Others offer. Others means other yogis. Everybody, when he says others, he's talking about yogis. People who want to get back to the self. Either they are doing it for limited goal or for ultimate goal of self-realization. So he says others offer hearing and other senses as sacrifice into the fires of restraint. Others offer sound and other sense objects as sacrifice in the fires of the senses. So I told you, receipt, reaction, response. All these three transactions has to be transformed into worship. First one is what? Receipt. Isn't it? What happens is, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. These are the five senses we have. These five senses, they receive the stimuli from the world outside in the form of color and form for the eyes, sound for the ears, smell for the nose, taste for the tongue, and touch for the skin. You understand? So the stimuli is entering the senses. And what is kindled? When color and form enters, seeing is kindled. When sound enters, hearing is kindled. Right? When taste enters the food, taste is kindled, perception of taste. Then touch is kindled through the skin. Similarly, smell is kindled through the nose. Correct or not? So, what is happening is, the first one is yajna of perception. Yajna of perception. That is given in the second line of the shloka. What is said in the second line of the shloka? Others offer sound. See, the style of scriptures is, they mention one or two to mention all. So when they say sound, it means color and form, it means taste, it means touch, everything. You understand? So they say others offer sound and other sense objects, stimuli, as sacrifice in the fires of the senses. Fires of the senses, because 5 senses are there, no, plural. Therefore it says fires of the senses. So into the senses, what is happening? Stimuli is entering, perception is kindled. Now what is happening? All this is going on mechanically. But for a yogi, all this happens consciously. जब कॉन्शियसली होता है, समथिंग नेगेटिव कैन गो. जो नहीं देखना आप देखोगे क्या? नहीं होता है ना. इन योर हाउस, इन द एंट्रेंस, व्हेन देयर इज अ सिक्योरिटी, will anybody who is not to be allowed will come in? No way. There is no security, anybody can come. But if the security is there, only that which can be sent. You understand? Therefore, here what happens is, you perceive only what is good for your evolution, but that also you do with awareness. This is called yajna of perception. You are converting just seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting into worship. You say, "Arey yaar, aaj I am feeling not so good, so I couldn't go to temple." कोई फर्क नहीं, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. आप घर पे बैठ के भगवान को याद कर सकते हैं. कैसा? जो भी आप देख रहे हैं उसको कन्वर्ट कर सकते हैं वर्शिप के ऊपर. Worship ke, like that, like worship. Can you not do that? I'm seeing, oh, if I'm able to see, consciousness is there behind it. That is Brahman. You understand? So therefore, yajna of perception. Now once perception goes inside, what happens? We start thinking about it, ruminating, and start developing more vasanas. So the second yajna is called yajna of self-restraint. Yajna of self-restraint. He says, in the fires of self-restraint. Why fires of self-restraint? 5 perceptions are kindled. No, that is talked about in the first line of the shloka. Others offer hearing and other senses. Hearing means hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. What are they? They are all nothing but perceptions. You understand? Now what they are doing is, they are ending perception with perception. So what is offered? Perception is offered, self-restraint is kindled. Usually what happens? We go, wherever we go generally, we take photos, videos, and then what do? Go back in the home, sit down, make coffee, come and sit with coffee, play that and enjoy. Kachu. And when you keep doing this, you are creating more vasanas. Right? Whereas yogi, he will perceive things, he will have perceptions, but he will end perceptions with perceptions. That's called yoga of, yajna of self-restraint. He says 5 senses are there, 5 perceptions are there, therefore fires of restraint, he says. So the first yajna is yajna of limited goal. Second yajna is yajna of absolute goal. Deva yajna, Brahma yajna. Then the third one is yajna of perception. Vishaya grahana yajna. You are perceiving, you understand? Receiving and perceiving. Then fourth one is dhamma yajna. Dhamma yajna means what? You are controlling your senses, self-restraint. That's the fourth one. Now he goes on to the fifth one. Next shloka.
Sarvani indriya karmani prana karmani chapare atma samyama yogajnau jupati jnana dipite.
Others sacrifice all the functions of the senses and the functions of the vital layers into the fire of yoga of self-control kindled by wisdom. He says, this is the fifth yajna. In the 25th shloka, 2 yajnas. 26th shloka, 2 yajnas. Total 4. Now in this 27th shloka, he gives 1 yajna. And this yajna is called Atma Samyama Yajna or Shama Yajna. Shama Yajna means self-control. Yajna of self-control. Here he uses the word fire, not fires. If you see in the Sanskrit, he says Sarvani Indriya Karmani Prana Karmani Chapare Atma Samyama Yoga Gnau. Means singular. You understand? In the fire of yoga of self-control, only one fire. What is he referring to now? He's talking about mind control. Now he's come to reaction. Receipt, then reaction ko control kiya. Reaction he already came in the previous shloka itself. Yajna of self-restraint. Now he's continuing further. There it was only sense control. Now he's talking about mind control. What is the sense center of both perceptions and actions? Mind. See, sometimes what happens is, you see somebody who cannot hear, right? Now, they also have physical ear, but they are not able to hear. So what is actually the ear? This physical ear is only the Gwalaya, the outside counter. The real instrument is something inside. Am I correct? So that is in the sense center, is in the mind. You understand? So he says, others sacrifice all the functions of the senses, perceptions and actions. Vital air here means action, prana means action, into the fire of yoga of self-control. The sense centers are in the mind. So now he's talking about mind control. Now senses are receiving stimuli. Stimuli is going into your mind. Now you are doing a lot of restrictions, control, so you are making sure that negative things don't go in. But already you received a lot of negative things. You understand? What happens is, when you were a small child, you heard stories of ghost. You were so curious, you heard all the stories of ghost. Now suddenly, when you are 35, 40, you happen to be alone in the house one day, at night, exactly 11 o'clock, you are going to bed, the story which you heard when you were small comes and you start getting agitated. You did not hear any story today, but it is already there in you. You understand? So it agitates you. So now what is he talking about? You have to sacrifice all your activities towards yajna of self-control. So what you are doing is, you are sacrificing all your perceptions and actions for the sake of self-realization, controlling your mind. It's called Shama Yajna. Yajna of Shama. Yajna of self-control. This is turning the mind towards the self. See, first of all, what is happening to us today is, our mind is not with us. What you can sacrifice, what is there with you only you can sacrifice. What is there not in you, how you can sacrifice? आजकल आपका मन आपके पास है क्या? नहीं. It's gone towards something, money, power, whatever. First that has to be brought back and then offered. You understand? So through the previous yajnas, you bring it back. Now you offer it to Brahman for the sake of self-realization. So this is called yajna of self-control. Fifth one. Continue. In the next shloka, he talks about 4 more yajnas. Totally we have covered 5. He is going to give 4 more in the next shloka. Continue. So now we have seen receipt, reaction. Receipt हो गया, reaction हो गया. अभी और क्या देखना है? Response. That he talks. Continue.
द्रव्य यज्ञस्तपो यज्ञाः योग यज्ञस्तथा परे स्वाध्याय ज्ञान यज्ञाश्च यतयः संशितव्रताः.
Yet others offer wealth as sacrifice. Dravya yajna. Dravya yajna means they are sacrificing wealth. Dravya is symbolizing wealth only. You understand? Grains. So yet others again offer wealth as sacrifice. And others offer austerity, tapas as sacrifice. Others offer yoga as sacrifice. And ascetics of rigid vows offer study and wisdom as sacrifice. So he's talking about dravya yajna, tapo yajna, yoga yajna, and then the last one is swadhyaya gnana yajna. 4 yajnas he's talking about. So when we respond into the world, we respond through the body, respond through the material giving, or through the body, or through the mind, intellect, and much deeper spiritual. All that he talks about. So first he says, you can sacrifice your wealth to kindle somebody else's wealth. That is called dravya yajna. You understand? Somebody is in need of money for education. You think he's a deserving candidate, she's a deserving candidate. What do? You offer your wealth as dhanam. You understand? To kindle their wealth. You understand? This is called yajna of dravya, called dravya yajna. At the material level. Next is, you go one step further and do physical yajna. This is even superior to material. It's very easy to write a check and give. Other is, you may give, you may not give the check, because it depends. If you have, you will give, otherwise what will you do? But you offer your physical help. Somebody is admitted in the hospital. He needs physical help. Somebody has to take the food and give and come back. So you are doing tapas. It's a strain for you. What is tapas? Tapas is going through difficulty with cheer for a higher purpose. With your will. That's called tapas. You understand? So you offer your physical efforts to help the other person's physical well-being and material well-being. You understand? So this is called what yajna? Tapo yajna. Better than dravya yajna. That doesn't mean dravya yajna is useless. We are not saying this is inferior, that is superior. Not in that sense. It's slightly subtler. That's all we want to say. Then comes yoga yajna. Yoga means spiritual practice. You understand? So when somebody is mentally low, you give them emotions. You give them intellectual knowledge to put them back on track towards spiritual evolution. So it's called yoga yajna. You understand? Where you are giving emotions and intelligence. This is called yoga yajna. This is definitely superior to the first. Superior in the sense subtler. Put it that way. I don't want to use word superior. Subtler than dravya yajna, tapo yajna, and the next one is yoga yajna. Then the fourth one is the highest of all these 4. What is that? Swadhyaya gnana yajna. Swadhyaya means what? Adhyayanam means what? Studying, memorizing, you understand? Chanting of the scriptures. Right? Veda Parayanam is Adhyayanam. Veda Adhyayana means daily sitting and studying. Not studying, chanting, memorizing. You understand? That is called Adhyayanam. Then followed up with what? Gnana Yajna. Enquiry on what you memorized. Understand? Now, in this 3-4 days itself, some of the shlokas you could have memorized, for example. Brahmarpanam Brahma Havihi. That shloka you could have memorized. Now once it's come into your head, now you can have soch vichar on it. Isn't it? You can do enquiry on it, study on it. Gnana Yajna. You can ask questions and try to understand. That's called study and reflection. You understand? You are doing that. It's called Swadhyaya Gnana Yajna. Meaning, what are you offering here? You are offering ignorance, kindling self-knowledge. You understand? And when you become through self-knowledge, when you realize the self, you become the beacon of light to everybody. You can guide the entire universe, whoever comes in contact with you. You understand? So therefore, of all the yajnas, what is the greatest of gift that you can give? Giving the self, giving the individuality. You understand? Giving the individuality is the greatest of all yajnas. So 4 yajnas: dravya yajna, tapo yajna, yoga yajna, swadhyaya gnana yajna. You sit down, study, reflect, understand. The more and more you understand, the more and more dynamic you will become, more and more loving you will become, more and more service minded you will become. When a person is insecure from within, who is not understood about himself and he is thinking himself to be this limited individual, what service he can do? First of all, even if he says, I want to do charity, and then he wants to go and distribute blankets to people during winter in Chandigarh. And when he goes, he sees everybody who is sitting on the platform has already got 2-3 blankets. Because just before you, somebody went and gave 2-3 blankets to everybody. You will get agitated with that fellow. Who is that fellow? I wanted to give. How come he gave? Because for you, giving is to satisfy your emotions. Because you are insecure. You understand? So therefore, such service is out of insecurity. The real service is when you do it out of complete security. That comes only when you are self-realized. Understand? Therefore, most important is first you put in effort to realize yourself. To the extent you realize the self, to that extent you do great service. That's why when you travel in the flight, first they say you secure yourself with seat belt. And when during emergency, oxygen mask will drop down, you help yourself and then you help the others. So first you become strong from within, then you can help the world. Next.
Apane jugvati pranam, prane panam tata pare, pranapanagati rukva, pranayama parayanaha.
Yet others offer as sacrifice prana into apana and apana into prana, restraining the courses of prana and apana. Some are absorbed in pranayama. Now, receipt, reaction, response, all these activities are not possible without prana. You understand? Life sustaining breath. Without that it is not possible. So therefore, all this has to be controlled through prana. So he is talking about sacrificing prana into apana, apana into prana. Basically what he is doing is, see, when you do pranayama, you inhale, then you hold it, hold the breath and then exhale. Inhaling is called purakam, holding is called kumbhakam, and releasing is called rechakam. Purakam, rechakam. Purakam, rechakam, in between kumbhakam. Now pranayama, especially, generally pranayama itself and especially kumbhakam in pranayama, which is withholding. There are two kumbhakam. Antara kumbhakam, bahya kumbhakam. When you inhale, you hold the breath inside. That's called antara kumbhakam. When you exhale, you hold the breath outside for a while. It's called bahya kumbhakam. This you properly learn from a proper guru, otherwise don't do. It's a problem. You'll, instead of doing good for you, it'll do all kinds of nonsense for you. You understand? Therefore, you better learn pranayama properly from a proper guru and do, otherwise don't do. Simply focus on your breath going in and out. That's enough. You understand? So what he's trying to say here is, when you regulate your pranas. So first he's saying, simply when you're sitting down, breathing is going out. This is involuntary or voluntary? Involuntary. You can make it voluntary. How? By focusing. So with awareness you breathe in, with awareness you breathe out. That is what he calls as yajna of prana apana. Yajna of purakam rechakam. That is the 10th yajna. Simply inhaling, inhalation is sacrificed, exhalation is kindled. Understand? Next, exhalation is sacrificed, inhalation is kindled. Simple breathing can be done consciously. Converted into yajna. Then you can bring about kumbhakam and control the prana. Right? When you do that, by controlling these pranas, what happens? You develop inner strength. You understand? So you are sacrificing the regulation of the breath and developing inner strength. That is the 11th yajna. Okay, now one more yajna. 30th. Others with regulated food offer pranas into pranas. All these are knowers of sacrifice, and by sacrifice have destroyed their sins. So now what he's saying is, what yajna is this? Niyatahara yajna. Yajna of control of food. Input. Food means all inputs. Generally, we talk about food, specifically saying food here, but it means all inputs have to be controlled. You understand? So he's saying others with regulated food. He's talking about upavas. What is upavas? What is upavas? Fasting. This is what we understand. Upa means near. Vas means residing. Upavas means residing near Bhagavan. If you are residing near Bhagavan, आपका याद पूरा भगवान के ऊपर है, तो फूड के ऊपर ध्यान नहीं जाता है. Understand? So, कम खाता है या नहीं खाता है. That's called upavas. Now, you want to do upavas. Like sometimes, people force themselves for upavas during a particular month. They don't eat. Or for 10 days they don't eat. Or 9 days they don't eat. Whatever it is. One day before that 9th day, one day before those 9 days, first day before, eat everything. You understand? And 9th day, कब खत्म होगा, कब खत्म होगा, कब खत्म होगा, they will wait. And 9th day खत्म होने के बाद भी पूरा खाएंगे. You understand? And 9 days तक जो खा सकते हैं, वो भी ज्यादा खाएंगे. लेकिन उपवास है, उपवास है, उपवास है. With your permission, I am extending the class by 5 minutes. Okay? Because these are little subtle verses. I don't want to just run it off, because they are important for us. Swamiji says, my guru, once he was invited by one of his disciples to her house for food, lunch. She's been calling him for a long time, but he couldn't go. So one day he said, Arey, I can come today. It was Shraddh time. Okay. So, but she said, no, Swamiji, now only he said he can come. I don't want to say Shraddh, Gita and all. Then when will I get another opportunity to, serve him? So therefore he said, no, it's okay, I'll accept you, please come. So when Swamiji went there, she was supposed to eat with him, right? But there's only one plate on the dining table. Swamiji said, what, you're not eating? No, Swamiji, Shraddh. So what, Shraddh means you don't eat? No, I eat, but mera food alag hai. Shraddh ke liye alag food hota hai na. So, it's okay, you eat your alag food, I'll eat my food. Whatever you give, it's okay. We'll eat together. I feel awkward to sit and eat without you sitting with me. So she said, okay. And he says, I was tempted to say, I am also fasting because that food was more attractive. You understand? So, in other words, upavas means what? What for you are doing this? To conserve the energy, to direct it towards the higher. And through upavas, you increase your strength more actually. When we don't have control in our food, we fall into disease. We get a lot of disease. So we need to control the intakes, all inputs. Unnecessarily you will go and see the serial. Understand? And in the serial, always mother-in-law is planning something negative against the daughter-in-law. Daughter-in-law planning negative against son-in-law. Something like that. You understand? And you also start doubting. Maybe this fellow also is planning something in your house. Who asked you to see all these things? If you see it objectively. You can't, then you will be unnecessarily agitated. You will have to see whether something is mixed in this food or not. You can't eat food properly. Unnecessary agitation. So therefore, food control is for what purpose? Inner strength, with which you can do external activities better. You understand? So when he says pranas are offered to pranas here, what he's talking about is, through this regulated food, you develop inner strength. Through pranayama, you develop inner strength. This inner strength you sacrifice for the external activities. You understand? So now what has happened? You started with stimuli, ended with external activity. The cycle is over. Understand? You converted every activity into worship. So he says, all those who know, all these are knowers of sacrifice. Means practitioners of yajna. Knowingly they do this. They know what is yajna and they do this yajna, and by sacrifice have destroyed their sins, and by sacrifice they have destroyed their vasanas, and they have moved closer and closer to the Atma. Some of them have even realized the self. They have purified themselves, and through knowledge they have realized the self. This is what he is saying. So 12 yajnas we saw. What are the 12 yajnas? Limited goal, absolute goal, perception, self-restraint, self-control, material wealth, physical action, and then emotion and intellect yoga. Then comes Gnana, self-study, realization, and then comes inhalation, exhalation, rechakam, purakam, rechakam, rechakam, purakam. And then comes pranayama, then comes, pranayama means kindling inner strength and offering inner strength for external activity. Deva yajna, Brahma yajna, then Vishaya Grahana yajna, Dama yajna, Shama yajna, Dravya yajna, Tapo yajna, Yoga yajna, Swadhyaya Gnana yajna, Purakam Rechakam yajna, Rechakam Purakam yajna. Then Pranayama yajna, then Ahara Niyama yajna. Got it? So the receipts, reaction and responses converted into worship. This is what he says in this portion from 25 to 30. Beautiful portion. And then now on he will say, of this which is superior, what you should do. He says you should gain knowledge. How to gain knowledge? That's another very important shloka in this portion that we will do tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last day. So we will cover that shloka. So again, like I said, it's a very important shloka. How you can qualify to gain knowledge, how you can attract Guru to you, all that he talks about. So I'll conclude the class today. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.